What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Morning or night person?
Night.
What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Salted caramel.
Comfort food?
Jacket potato.
Are you a coffee or tea person?
Oh, coffee, yeah. Tea as well, to be honest. Yeah. All of it, bring it on.
Do you prefer the beach or the mountains?
City.
What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
Moved to China, I think.
If you could choose any superpower, what would it be and how would you use it?
Time travel.
Awesome, thank you. Welcome to Powerhouse with Joyce. We have the International Women's Day Special Edition. Joining us today is Nicola Oldfield. She's the Director of Marketing and Client Services APAC at 10 Group. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tell us a bit about your current position and how you get there.
Yeah, sure. So 10 Group, I've been with them 6 years and they're a global tech-enabled concierge company. So we essentially help our corporate clients retain and engage their sort of premium or high-tier customers, so ultra net worth individuals that might be banking with them or have credit cards with them. And we help them to access travel and lifestyle kind of more easily than they could themselves. And it's kind of through us, it's very hassle-free because they've kind of got a one place to come to. And I run kind of the client team and client relationships across APAC and also kind of how we market to their end customer. We call it our member. Yeah, it's a really interesting role. I've known of 10 for a long time in my sort of previous life in London. But yeah, based in Hong Kong, and I work across the different markets here. So we've got offices all across the region. So China, Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, all over Australia, Southeast Asia. Yeah. So it's very, very interesting and very dynamic teams and sort of lots of different people that are in the business. Because as I say, we have a big technology part to what we do with the service, not just the sort of front end team that, you know, manage all of the customer interactions. So yeah, I've been very fortunate to be with them during the COVID period as well, which is obviously quite challenging, especially when people weren't going out and doing things, and we essentially helped them to go out and do things. Yes. But we pivoted a lot at that time, going into sort of virtual experiences and virtual kind of workshops and anything that you could do online that would engage them or their families. It's been a really interesting few years. It's kind of flown by, really.
Wow, that's amazing. So you joined before COVID. You did a lot of marketing communications. And is that something you studied? And how did you get to the current position?
I didn't study it. I actually studied design and art direction in Manchester many, many years ago. And I left university. I was always passionate about food, passionate about restaurants and dining. I kind of wrote for the student magazine and things like that. Right. And then I got a break joining Gordon Ramsay, you know, probably 6 months after leaving uni, after doing lots of telesales and everything else that you could do. And I was with him for about 7 years in the end. So it was kind of the beginning of his expansion into, you know, overseas markets, growing his UK footprint. And I started as an events manager, very quickly moved up and built a team. I think I had about 12, 15 people. So we managed all of the private dining, all of the takeovers of the restaurant, you know, or any kind of events that Gordon was doing outside as well. And then I sort of fell into the marketing part because we also at that stage, when this was like early stage of the internet, websites was your marketing channel.
Yes.
I did a big project to kind of build a website, and we created a separate brand for Gordon as well, and all of the brands for restaurants. So I kind of managed this big, I think it was a 500-page website or something. Wow. And I was just fascinated by that and just how we could engage all the people that love food and loved what Gordon was doing in the restaurants and telling stories from the restaurant. So I kind of went more in that direction, I suppose, with Gordon. And then after that period, needed a bit of a break. So decided to leave London and come to Asia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you didn't come with a job?
No, we took basically sort of almost 2 years out.
Right.
I'd never done a gap year from uni, and it was quite the trend. Yes. When I was at uni. So I kind of felt I needed to do the travel side of things. So my husband and I did a TEFL course in Beijing to learn to teach English. Oh, okay. And we stayed there for 7-8 months. That was 2007, before the Olympics, which was incredible. Had no experience of China, didn't speak any Mandarin. Wow. There was very little English spoken at all. Yeah. So it was just a total eye opener. And it was an amazing opportunity. We met some lovely people. And then we decided to come to Hong Kong. We've got family here from my husband's side. So we came to Hong Kong for a year and I taught English. So again, like very new, totally out of the comfort zone, but really enjoyed it, met some great people and did quite a bit of travel. And then decided, right, we'll go back to London and pick up where I left off, and then joined another chef, Marcus Waring. I think he had 2 restaurants at that time and helped to open the second restaurant with him. It was a big project at St Pancras Station at the Renaissance Hotel. And then sort of got, I think, 2 years into that and sort of felt like maybe the Hong Kong journey hadn't finished for us and we wanted to explore coming back.
So how's it transitioning from dining to lifestyle and tech?
It's very similar because we still work with so many restaurants and chefs and restaurateurs, and dining is so incredibly popular because it's just such a natural touch point for so many people, right? Whether it's just a social gathering or special anniversaries. So actually I do keep connections with restaurants as well as all the other partners we work with, whether it's hotels or brands, So although my role is managing the clients and my team, I get involved with lots of the partnership side as well for the region, because often there's new brands we might think work really well for a client. And sometimes it's the client briefing us of what they want, sometimes us coming up with something that we know really works for their clients as well. So
sounds like so many moving parts with managing clients and partnership. And what is the most difficult part of it?
I think managing different time zones, different markets and different priorities. So it's just trying to make sure I know what I want to achieve each week, spending the right time with the right clients and being open to ad hoc things happening all the time. That's the most challenging because you never really feel you have enough time.
Yeah.
Always chasing your tail.
Yeah.
But it's also the bit that I love because every day is different in a way, because although kind of there are some, regular things that we do or regular meetings we have every month with clients or kind of whatever the schedule is, there's just always something that you might pick up and say, oh, this new partnership could really work for X client, or there's something we've looked at within what we're doing with our technology. Like we've launched a lot of chat channels recently with WeChat and Line, lots of creative things we can do with those to make it easier for the clients to access things.
Right. Would you say the technology is something that you have to ramp up, or you've always been into technology and really was a smooth transition?
It's definitely a big focus, especially with AI and automation. I just think in general, that is the way the world is going. And we are definitely pro getting all our teams to be AI literate, looking at all the tools that can make our jobs so much more efficient, which means we have more time to spend on, the strategic thinking, actual quality time and building relationships with clients, things that, you already see in day-to-day life here that do get missed. Meetings become on Teams and you just miss that human connection. So we're kind of hoping that leveraging AI and all of the fantastic things it can do will just help us to prioritize that time and make all of the day-to-day work much more efficient. So it's totally big kind of directive for the company to get up to speed. We have things like Copilot in the business, but using all sorts of different channels and using it for our content teams, translation teams. Because we produce a lot of content as well in magazines and guides. Yeah, we have a big team of writers across the world in Hong Kong as well. So that part's also similar to my previous comms days on the PR side. Sort of feel like still have a hand in that sort of editorial side, which is really nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I mean, technology is changing so quickly. How do you or the company keep up to date and keep current?
It's a good question. I think we definitely promote our teams to, be proactive. Is very much a company focused on, kind of continued learning. There's always new things you need. So we have our own systems, but they're always being looked at how we upgrade them. And a lot of it's based on the data that we get because we know what our members are, what their behaviors are, what they're booking, what their preferences are. So we have a lot of teams, our CX team, who look at that, and kind of look at how we need to change maybe some of the journeys of how they use concierge. And then it's also input from different teams around the region. Our team might have a certain view on things that we need or tools that we need. Another team might. So that's always brought together to kind of form a roadmap that we can really focus on for the year. And then we've got huge teams in tech and product, as well as a new sort of transformation team as well, which focus on AI. For me, I still feel like I'm learning all the time as well, alongside my team, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's great. And I guess in this day and age, you kind of have to, right? Again, with so many things going on, kind of have to keep in touch. And that's a lot of information and a lot of, since you manage so many different functional teams, how do you organize yourself, I guess, in your work? In terms of is there a day of the week that you do tech and then one day is more comms or it's really a mix every day?
Yeah, it is a mix. In general, I try to stick to Friday being less meetings day. No meetings is a bit difficult, but less meetings. I think we're also it's kind of a very 10 thing that when we have meetings, we're just very efficient with it. Why do we need the meeting? What are we trying to get out of it? What's the objective? So that we don't need to sit on a meeting for the sake of a meeting. We're definitely not that type of company. And I try to kind of work in that way also to show my team, this is not my expectation. If you don't need to be on a call, don't be on it. Or if you don't need to have a meeting and you can do it in a different way. But in general, Fridays would be that day where it's kind of a clean-up day of making sure that everything that I was trying to achieve that week I'm doing, plus with the team, and I have my weekly catch-ups with each of my team members and then regional meetings. So there isn't really, I suppose, structured pattern in that sense, but there is definitely periods of the day when UK comes online, that will then be my period where I do all my check-ins for anything that I need from those teams. And I'm sure that anyone that works across a region or globally, that is the way you have to work, whether you're doing evening calls. That's quite a nice structure in a way, because you kind of, you know, you can look at what you need from that team or that market and just save time for that and kind of block time for that. But then also it's very much about just being present with the team here in Hong Kong, or also things that I do outside of work as well, just giving time to that in the evenings.
Well, speaking of things outside of work, you're very involved with TEDxTinHau Women, and that's also empowering, supporting, and amplifying female stories. Can you talk a little bit about how you got into that and that journey as well?
So TEDxTinHau Women started in 2017, and I knew of it and had been to quite a few of the events that were being run over the years. So they do an annual event. And I think a couple of years back, I thought this would be a great thing to get involved. And they essentially bring about 8 or 10 speakers every year, handpick them through a kind of process, and then coach them and work with them to then do their TEDx talk. So TEDx talks are global in many, many markets around the world, but specifically do a talk that resonates with women and men, but with women and for Hong Kong. So I joined, I think this is my 4th year running Marcom. So making sure we get our message out, we get as many people to come to our event. So our annual event, we just closed last year. We had about 1,000 people.
Wow.
At Shichu Centre.
Yes.
Yeah. So it is an amazing experience, and it's all brought about by a team of volunteers. So, you know, my team had about 12 people, all volunteering, working across our website, our newsletters, social media, photography, videography, PR. And then we've got 6 or 7 other teams from operations to curation who actually work with the speakers on their topic, refining the messages, getting it to a stage where it's perfect for them to remember. And most of them do a 12 to 15 minute talk, and it's totally from memory, which is incredible.
That is amazing.
Yeah. The bigger part to it is just the community, because actually the community around TEDxTinHau Women is much, much bigger than just the sort of maybe 70, 80 people who run the event every year, because we have people who've been involved back in 2017, 2018, who've maybe come back, or previous speakers who connect with us. And the topics also, you just learn so much. I mean, in last year's event, we had talks on visible and invisible disabilities from Jessica and Sophia. All of these things are on the website, by the way, but things that I wasn't conscious of or wasn't aware of. Also things that are sort of very related to Hong Kong on Cantonese language, preserving Cantonese opera, which was amazing. I've never been to see Cantonese opera, so that's an amazing experience.
Yeah. I haven't seen one either. I know it's at the center. I should. You should go.
Check it out. But yeah, so it is a big passion of mine, and also just a lot of the young women that come into the committee, it's a chance to kind of mentor and support them and just help them to kind of build their confidence around what they can do, what they can achieve outside of what they are traditionally seen as their role or their job. We all have a go at different things, and there's kind of no judgment, whatever you want to pick up, however you want to help. Someone to support you. And that's why it's just very difficult to leave, because because it's just something that's like part of my life now.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's probably started off with, okay, I'll try 1 year and volunteer a bit and then
see what this is about. And then you sort of realize in, weekly meetings, and you're spending a lot of time together, and you're just, meeting these speakers with these incredible messages, which is daunting for a lot of them. They're not professional speakers. So you create lots of new relationships as well with people who are doing amazing things in Hong Kong, which is, really special.
But that's amazing just to hear, like, as you're saying, the team is 70, 80 people. That's amazing.
And all volunteers. I mean, often the partners that get involved will say, oh, you sure you're not being paid for this?
It feels like another full-time job.
Yeah. But fortunately also because TEN's very focused on, supporting, whether it's sort of charitable work. So we do all get a day to do volunteering every year. So when we have our full day event, then that's my kind of contribution. Yeah. And lots of teams do different things, all sorts of fun things. I think our Japan team went to a farm outside of Tokyo and helped the farmer with collecting the rice, and kind of it was something very humble, but something that was really needed. Yeah, here we've gone to like the dog rescue centres and things like that.
Oh wow!
But that's also part of TEDx, because TEDxTinHau Women, we have a few charity partners, 3 every year, that we support by bringing our volunteers to be active in any of the events that they're doing, or just spreading the word about them, because they're charities that typically aren't really out there in people's
maybe you don't have the know-how of the marketing aspect as well,
or they're very small and they just don't have the infrastructure to have their own kind of marketing channel, so we just help to get the message out.
Wow.
So it's
amazing.
really nice.
And with all that, you also have 3 kids. So how do you balance all of the things happening?
Gosh, I don't think there is balance. It's always interesting when people say work-life balance. I'm like, I'm not sure it's balance. It's sort of just, you have to be kind of used to a bit of chaos, I think. And just, there's times of the day and weekends, which are very much our family time. So weekends are pretty sacred, that we always have family time together and get out and do things together. And then in the week, it's just finding pockets of time where you can, whether it's just like walking one of my kids to school and having a bit of time to chat to them there, or in the evenings before they go to bed, we always have that sort of half an hour together.
Story time.
And even when I travel for work, it's still just, you can easily sort of connect. So I think it's just because I'm in a company that's very flexible as well. Then if I have things like, like we all do, it's, school activities, then you have time to do that as well as kind of balance work. But I don't think I'd kind of have it any other way, to be honest. It is busy, but it makes the times when you have to relax and be away from all of that even more special, which I think is quite unique actually. So we really value the family time, or if we go back and see family in the UK, it's kind of even more special than it would be.
That's great. Do you have a specific habit as well in terms of like winding down for yourself?
I don't sort of do very quiet, calm things. I tend to, I'm in a women's group that do Muay Thai at the weekends.
Oh, okay.
Which came about from TEDx, because our chair, she runs Muay Thai with her husband, who's a trainer. So we do that on the ferry pier every weekend, which is cool. Yeah, it is amazing.
On the pier, you do Muay Thai?
Outside. It's just getting any stress out, just makes you feel really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, in general, it's more socializing, seeing friends, going out for dinner, things like that, as well as then family time at the weekends and getting out to the park and, activities. But
that's great.
Keeps your mind.
And speaking of like mentorship at TEDx, right? Do you have a specific role model or a mentor like throughout your career?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I think there's definitely been people that really kind of stood out, especially kind of pre-coming to Hong Kong. In my jobs with Gordon Ramsay and Marcus Waring, I had a mentor, which was Jane Waring, Marcus Waring's wife, who's a part of the business. She spent a lot of time with me, helping me understand what I needed to do. And then I suppose now coming into 10, it's people like, my boss, Andrew. I've known him since being in London. So, having most of the management team, we have a very great culture of like friendship, but also we're really driven to do things together. And then outside of work, gosh, all of the TEDxTinHau Women people, there's so many that I could name. That, you see what they put in. Eleanor and Catherine on the creative side, and then Jen and Daniela and Vic. There's so many of the leadership team, I think, that inspire me, and they keep the energy, they keep the focus, even when we're thinking, gosh, are we ever going to get to the event? But the other one is probably the Women's Foundation, because I was lucky to do their mentoring program a few years back, just as COVID hit actually. And I think what Fiona does there is incredible. So that kind of alumni community is really good, because if you just need an ear to someone or some advice, something you maybe haven't faced yourself, you have that community of women to go to. Yeah, so I really value that.
Wow, that's quite a lot of different things there. Well, but that's great. It's all tied into a similar theme. That's amazing. Just want to ask, like, also, in terms of success is always bumps along the road. So is there one biggest failure or mistake or lapse in judgment, in between, but actually leads to, pivoting to something else?
Gosh, so many. I suppose I think of it as like learnings versus like failures, because there are lots of times where things haven't come out the way you wanted. Probably when I came to Hong Kong, I think I took on a lot of responsibility. Perhaps at that stage, have maybe some of the communities that I have now to support me. So I suppose that journey into like a leadership role was very challenging. And if I did it again, I know I would do things differently. I think it's hard not to put emotion into your job.
Yeah.
And perhaps there were times when, I thought more with my heart than my head. But I think that's just part of learning yourself as well. If you're managing teams, you need to sort of build your own way to your management style, right? Yeah. How you want to be seen as a leader, or how you want to manage people. And maybe at that time, I didn't really have, like I say, the community or the time to I didn't spend the time, I didn't choose to spend the time maybe on me and those kind of focuses. So
what would you say is your management style or leadership style?
Gosh, difficult one to describe, I suppose. I hope I'm quite empathetic and supportive, but I'm also someone that, when we need to go for something, I want to put that energy in, and I want to motivate the team to really go for it. I like to always try and help people to find confidence in themselves, because maybe that was something in my early career that I didn't have myself.
Right. And that is super important.
Yeah. And perhaps at that stage you sort of thought that naturally a hierarchy enabled you to get things done. And it doesn't. Your job title doesn't mean anything really. It's just the relationships you build, the trust that you build. And that's something that hopefully I've definitely developed, not mastered, but developed it.
Yeah. That's always constant learning anyway.
Yeah,
for
totally,
everyone,
totally.
And any final advice or additional advice, just in general life advice?
I would say just try and be active in your own development, your own learning. And for me, especially in Hong Kong, it's about kind of maybe reaching out to people that you admire or you think you can learn from if you're thinking of developing in the career that you have now, or you want to kind of pivot into something else. Mm-hmm. There's so many people that are really willing to help and guide you, but you need to take that step.
Right.
You know, if you want to go for something, whether you're changing into a different direction or staying where you are and wanting to move up into a leadership role, then just find those people, or through communities, you know, like TEDxTinHau Women or Women's Foundation. There's so many. Yeah. So that's something I've definitely, you know, really been privileged to have that experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.